You're walking down a busy street when a stranger locks eyes and raises a hand for a high five. It's an instinctive social contract. You raise your hand to meet theirs, but right before the impact, they pull back. They leave you standing there with your arm in the air, waiting for a connection that never happens. Before the awkwardness even sets in, they hit you with two questions in rapid succession. How many hands am I holding up? Then, how many fingers? This is Michael Simoneau, architect of the Zeroth theory. He uses this disruption to make a massive claim. Our entire mathematical understanding of reality is broken because we have misidentified the number zero. Simoneau doesn't rely on academic whiteboards to make his case. He uses this street prank to break your perception of social norms, creating a mental opening where he can begin to rebuild your logic from the ground up. He counts down slowly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As he speaks, he pulls each finger into his palm until his hand is a tight fist held in the air. Now he asks the question he's been leading toward. How many fingers am I holding up? This interaction serves as a method for isolating the exact moment your logic fails. It forces you to confront a contradiction in how you define nothingness when the physical evidence is right in front of you. Most people answer 0. Simoneau uses that response to pivot the conversation, asking his target to explain what that 0 actually represents in the physical world. To illustrate the flaw in their thinking, he introduces a grotesque hypothetical. He asks them to imagine he just used a machete to chop his own fingers off. He plays it up, dropping to the ground and clutching his wrist in mock agony, acting out the trauma of holding up a severed limb to get the target to visualize a true absence. In that violent scenario, the answer 0 fingers is actually correct because the fingers have been destroyed. There is one hand, but the fingers are gone. This bloody stump is Simoneau's metaphor for how we currently define 0. We treat it as nullity, a term for a state that has no value or existence. We see 0 as a void or a total lack of something. But back in reality, Simoneau simply opens his fist and then closes it again. Since he didn't hack his fingers off, they haven't disappeared. He asks where they went. This is where Zeroth theory replaces the definition of 0 as a void with a concept called totality. It suggests that 0 is not an empty state, but a point of perfect convergence where forces are balanced. In this view, the closed fist is a container under tension, holding the stored mathematical values of the 5 fingers inside. This is totality, positive and negative forces reaching equilibrium within a defined boundary. The fingers are present, simply unmanifested. The fist demonstrates that true 0 provides the underlying architecture that allows objects to exist. It isn't a lack of things, it is the container for them. Simoneau then moves to the final stage of the prank. He hides both of his hands, clenched into fists, behind his back, and asks the target to count the hidden hands and fingers. The target usually guesses there are 2 hands because they can see his arms, but they claim it's impossible to know the number of fingers without seeing them first. Simoneau brings both fists forward and declares there are 10. He argues that the fingers are inextricably attached to the hands, meaning their count is constant, regardless of whether the hand is open or closed. This leads to the formal law of 0 theory. The quantity of options implicitly limits the number of total possible options to exactly the quantity of options given plus 1. This means the total count must include the container itself. If you have 5 fingers, the hand that holds them is the 6th item. In computing, this is a form of 0 indexing, a method where the starting point or container is calculated as the first value in a set. This logic scales from the sidewalk to the cosmos. Simoneau claims our models of physics are incomplete because we calculate the fingers of the universe, the stars and galaxies, while failing to index the hand that contains them. He calls this the 0 index failure. If the universe follows the logic of the hand, then it doesn't stretch out into a void. It is a finite, perfectly balanced system of interconnected parts. We are not lost in an empty vacuum. We are held within the boundary of totality.